guys. So, hello, welcome to Token Minds Twitter Space discussion. So, my name is Chris, and I am the community lead for Token Minds. And I am with Aldwin, our marketing manager for Token Minds. Hello, Aldwin.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the Twitter Spaces for us here at Token Minds, and we have a wonderful guest for all of you.
Yep. So today we will be discussing about some of the new and effective strategies for NFT projects in 2023. And of course, as the NFT market continues to grow and evolve, it's really important for us, to really adapt to changes and to stay informed of these changes. So, by gathering a diverse group of experts and thought leaders in the field, such as our guests for today, we hope to gain really valuable insights and even some, alpha with regarding to their projects, in their next plans and etc. So also in order for you guys to know about our featured projects, which we really believe are the really great projects as of the moment in the space. So sit back, relax, and join us for an informative day of great discussion. So we would also appreciate it if you hit that like and retweet buttons at the bottom of your screen to share this interesting discussion that we will have to your Web3 friends. Okay, so we are excited to have with us today our guest speaker from Alpha Pharoahs, one of the leading projects currently in the space, which brings really in-game changing NFT utilities in the industry. So kindly welcome to our space today, Snooze. Hi, Snooze.
Hi guys, pleasure to be on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be
Hey
with
guys,
you. Yeah,
I just
thank
had
you.
the triple mute button issue because I was coming off another space. But yeah, how's everyone? Wherever you're at, how are you guys? I know there's a lot of things happening in the world. The 7.7 earthquake earlier. I hope everyone is safe. I hope everyone's in a good place to talk and listen now.
Yeah, I heard about that and also saw it on your tweet. So yeah, I really hope that everyone is fine that area right now. So far for our end, we're good here at my area. Yeah, how about the others? Yeah, can you click on that heart emoji if you're all good, guys? So let's just see. Thank you, thank you.
I see a lot of people who aren't good just listening, but it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. Wherever you are, I hope you're in somewhere comfortable, somewhere you can digest what we'll be talking about today. Lots of good things that we'll be discussing. I mean, I was just looking through the briefer. These guys are asking some hard questions, and I'm excited to share what I know and how I can at least improve your NFT and your token journey.
All right. Okay. So I think we could already start. Yeah. So for the guys who are here listening, so you can listen well and prepare your questions just in case, because we will be rewarding those with the high quality and engaging questions later on. And then also, just by joining and listening to the space, we will have a chance to get some USDT giveaways as well as a token of our appreciation. So yeah, let's proceed. Snooze. So first, can you quickly introduce yourself and then tell us what you do for Alpha Pharaohs?
So I'm Snooze Cat. I'm one of the I'm one of the core founders. I think that's the right term we use. I'm one of the core founders for Alpha Pharaohs, so one of the first four. Today, that role differentiates because what we have now is sort of like a board structure in Pharaohs. So there are five founders who lead the team. Our CEO, who does most of the executory decisions, is NFTim. I'm in charge of externals, relationships, and business development. Stoner's in charge of Alpha. Yido's in charge of legal, internal operations, and um, let's call it escalations for now. And Oscar's in charge of the Tomb Raid onboarding server, which we use sort of as our mini server for launching one of our most rapidly growing businesses in the space. Um, I've been in the space probably in NFTs at least, for probably 2.5 years now since I came from ETH in 2020. I entered Solana October of 2021, and I started off as like a community mod before they promoted me like into like a community manager. And I got known first in the space as being an alpha caller, alpha hunter to be very specific, and that's where I really got the title of like the cutest caller in Web3, because my plays are always just the most funny plays. But it's sort of why like there's a following around me, because I'm not only set on Pharaohs. I do other things in the space. One of it is advisory. So outside of being all this for Pharaohs, I'm also an esteemed advisor for multiple projects. I mean, I launch rapidly close to 2 to 3 projects a month as advisors. Not all of them will really mint, but at least getting and growing these founders into a shape that they think they can pursue their project. That's what I specialize in. I specialize in the project management, in the product roadmaps, and really the strategies around what we do. Outside of
Uh,
that, I'm also a member of a lot of bigger DAOs, which will show with how much I network in the space. One of the more notable ones is Trust DAO, Trust Labs. That's the TD in my name, and Insomnia DAO, which is like an alpha server as well. Recently, I'm also part of Lunar Labs, as well as Robinhood DAO and the Soul Council, which the Soul Council is it's technically the round table of all the first callers in the space.
all right. So really a colorful background there. Yeah, with that being said, just an additional question. So before getting into Alpha Pharaohs, right? So how did you actually get started in this whole Web3 space and especially NFT? So it's also great to hear that journey.
Okay. So for me, I started off as a trader. So I was trading crypto even in college. And then I found I was just following trends, and then ETH NFTs were popping off. So I tried to do something there. I tried to mint a couple projects, tried to be part of the community there. And the methodology astounded me. Sadly, though, I never really felt a sense of. I'm not sure if it's because of the projects that I joined, because when I modded in ETH, it was really working for a rug project. Not even a rug. I mean, the right term is a derivative project. I was working on one of the first derivative of BAYC back in the day. And that gave me insight into what it is. Professionally in Web 2, I'm a portfolio director for a Fortune 100 consulting firm, which right away, if you're in the industry, you already know that project management and executing on a roadmap and actually working on a business is what I do normally day in and day out. So it became second nature to like work on a project. And where I started in Solana is really trying to understand the pulse of the community. So I rooted myself inside a community, tried to find my way through, tried to understand how the space works. When I got confident enough, networked with the right people, worked on big projects, and then finally found myself advising. That's actually how I found myself into Pharoahs. I was me and Tim were their first advisors then, when Oscar and Philip were the first founders. These are college students who wanted to launch a project, and that's sort of how it cemented. We eventually took it over, did our own thing. Oscar's still with us, but it's set in stone. I think that's really how I got built into this space. Outside of all the side hustles that I do, because my Web 2 is really multiple streams of things that are happening. I mean, I'm so used to looking at 8 projects day in and day out, trying to assess where they're at, what their risks are, what their issues, dependencies, all that. And then trying to figure out what's the best course of action to try to progress that project into their goals. Doing the same thing, translating that Web 2 work that I do into Web 3 is really what got me good in this space.
It's really like,
Yeah.
the Web2 experience is like a real fitting mold. So when you transition to Web3, it's really easier, right? It's
It
really
was, it
cool.
was. And because Web3, not to bash anyone in working in Web3, and I see my friend Leon popping in, who'd agree with me. Web3 is like working on your science project in high school. Like most of the projects that are managed here, they're actually managed that way. If you've seen how a nuclear team works, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of let's just do this kinds of discussions. Which,
Yeah,
strangely
it's
enough,
like
when you
testing
bring
the
in,
water.
yeah, it's really open water, and that means there's a lot of opportunity. So people like me who do have the experience of implementation and deployment, we find so much value in what we can do just introducing our methodologies in Web 2 into Web 3. I mean, how often do you see a project talking about profit and loss or like a Gantt chart or like a Scrum? Not a lot, but the top projects do. Like I will tell you, for example, in Pharoahs, we do Kanban, which not everyone will tell you that, oh, we even have a
Yeah.
way to track development.
Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, applying those ideologies. So for Kanban, I heard that in manufacturing. So as for me, I started in a manufacturing field as well. So I really believe that those concepts are really applicable as well in managing Web3 projects. So yeah, really good background for co-founder of a project. So it really goes to show how much you really know what you're doing in comparison to others, right? So I guess Aldwin, my co-host, has another question.
Yeah, it's only been a start, but we already got so much insights from your rich experience. And so now, for those of us who don't know, and our wonderful listeners today, let's get into it. Can you tell us more about Alpha Pharaohs?
Okay, so this is a mouthful just because of how much is going on, but I'll try to simplify it to probably a few key philosophies. One is Alpha Pharaohs is the one project that I know to date that focuses on kindness and giving back. That's the core principle that we always look at. Now, by design, Alpha Pharaohs is a project with, to date, four collections technically. You have your main Alpha Pharaohs, my PFP, which will be the main collection. I'll use the phrase main collection sparingly because by design thought, each part of what we do is actually a project in itself. How that works, I'll go on to it a little bit more. But just for each silo, Alpha Pharaohs, the main collection, that's the community, that's the virality, that's the voice of the ecosystem, and that's sort of the poster child of our project. It's a collection that uses raid tactics and virality to try to make the biggest buzz in the space. And I can prove that with just looking at how we rated the space earlier today and just got it to like 170 engagements. That's the power of the Pharaohs.
Yep, in 10 minutes.
Now, we also have the Sears, which is our take on equipping and giving people the right sets of technologies to survive the space. So, from one of the most esteemed mint bots and sniper bots through cyber frogs, we also have introduced like ways for holders to actually build. So advisory is also unlocked with Sears. They're gonna come out with an upgrade pretty soon, which is something we're all bullish on. But it's basically a collection that will equip you with what you need to survive in Web 3. Right now, that looks like various bots, various auto traders, a portfolio tool, many other partnerships that we just strategically align and just stack them onto Sears. We have the DJ and Pharaohs, which is an art project, which we are foregoing. This one has been announced, but they're becoming Sears too. That's not the collection yet. the Jewels of the Desert, which is sort of a secret surprise that we're preparing for. That's the third collection. And the fourth one, the youngest member of the Pharaohs, the Liquidity Pharaohs. These ones are our take on what we call AMMs and passive revenue, quote unquote, because this is a way for people to just invest into money directly, like a 3.5 invest, and you directly make the emission of the LP that is co-funded across the entire Pharaoh board. So that's our fundraise of around 15K, if my numbers are correct. But it's a 15K liquidity pool and AMM that is controlled by some of the biggest minds in the space, allowing you to maximize the volume generated by that. The gains have been interesting. Like each share have been like points 0.6 to 0.7 SOL a week per share, and that's always been interesting. And we continue to just stack on methods to make passive income through them. So that's what they'll always be. They'll always be like a passive income vessel. And that's the segregation of at least the four main collections. Tying all that together, Pharaohs essentially make it so that it's through giving constant value and giving back all that, we're able to keep generating our holders at least pure value, and at least understanding the design thought of just giving back to the space and just constantly building inside a community, inside an ecosystem.
Yeah. I love what you do. Like, I love what you stand for and how what you're doing for the space. And you're right when you say that there's a lot to unpack about Alpha Pharaohs. And so, especially since I saw that you've just put out an update, I think we should get into this one by one. So, can you talk to us more about raid to earns and specifically Tomb Raids, like its use and how it works? And of course, thank you again for raiding us a while ago on the space.
Okay, so for everyone who's new, Raid to Earn is actually, as a community, our big revenue maker. It generates close to 100 to 200 SOL a day just on raid revenue. Raiding is the act in the space of engaging on a Twitter post, in the future Facebook, Instagram, any socials, you name it. But basically engaging and allowing you as a holder, or you as a holder essentially, to be able to like, comment, retweet, follow, and then make passive, make a little bit of soul as a reward from doing all those tasks. Now each pharaoh can raid to date 6 times, which is actually one of the early announcements this month, where we moved from 3 to 6. We were generating 150 SOL on average at 3 raids of Pharaoh. Now they're moving to 6. So the volume has been constantly spiking up, and that's why with what's happening also for raiding, so the how to like raid as a pharaoh, but we're offering this service for free to everyone else in the space. So projects have been lining up the past couple of months, trying to line up to go for and apply for their own white label Tomb Raid platform. How that works is quite interesting, because pharaohs can still raid on the white label platform, but let's say I'm a BAYC and BAYC signs up for a white label platform. They can raid just the same way pharaohs do, and that's always been amazing results, because it's a platform that essentially gives back whatever is funded to the holders. So a raid works wherein, let's say I put in 10 SOL, so you put in a bit of SOL or ETH or USDC in the future, you put in a 10 SOL raid, 9 SOL of that raid goes all back to whoever raided. Like, that's distributed evenly. That's how we're able to generate a lot of people engaging, because they're rewarded directly without waiting. They just need to do a claim. The 1 SOL that's left over is actually what's split. 0.25 of that 1 SOL goes to the pharaohs, because it is our platform. It is something that we control. And as a holder, that's something you get passively, split into all the other holders. The next point five goes into upkeep because it does cost a lot to like do all these Twitter Enterprise and API calls. And the other 20.25 goes to the main project who we're working with. So let's say BAYC comes up with their own white label Tomb Raid platform. Well, all the BAYC holders can do whatever they want with the 0.25 that they generate. That's the decision of the project. And this is free utility that we're just offering out. Like anyone can line up for Tomb Raid. It's just a prioritization line now. It's I think the date a 78 project line, and I think we're vetting 3 more projects because we don't want to be wasting our time on rugs. But it is what it is, and that's sort of how we've always created. And I think to date we're almost monopolizing the economy of attention, at least when it comes to trying to grab it through Tomb Raid.
Yeah, I hear you. So, talking about Tomb Raids, right? And there, you also have this thing called Tomb Raid Pass. So, how does it connect, and what's the use of the Tomb Raid Pass?
Okay, the Tomb Raid Pass is it's special utility that we've offered to Pharaoh holders and Seer holders, where it's minted. It's a 0.169 mint that's just sold outrightly. It essentially allows anyone, even the smallest holder, to be able to buy in to our ecosystem at sub 2 soul floor to date, and then just raid, have one raid and unlimited scraps. It allows anyone, even the smallest person, to start making their journey through our ecosystem, buying in at a very low entry cost, and trying to make the passive income from raiding, essentially. Because a lot of our holders actually make so much from raids. I mean, we have people who make like 12, 15 soul a week just from raiding.
Yeah, that's a lot. So, getting more into the other aspects, right? I heard you also a while ago that you had Sears, and it was somehow connected to Degen Pharaoh. So, can you explain to us about Sears and how it's connected to Degen Pharaohs?
Okay. So Sears were essentially the Stoner Pass, which when we absorbed Stoner Boys DAO, we upgraded their art one time, and if you combine them into our collection. Degen Pharaohs were an art collab originally with Degen Boys DAO, which I'm not sure if they're around still today. But they're coming together, they're clubbing together as a mega collection. They're becoming, through the help of Neuromind. Neuromind is a goated one of one artist who does AI really well. Him and his wife have actually helped us upgrade both collections as art. So now we're updating the art also in line with the update that we're getting from the minting bot and auto trading bot that we partnered up with Cyberfrogs. So if anyone's familiar with Thor, we're actually the only other project that I know to date that has the same access to Thor, the auto trader bot of the Cyberfrogs community, which allows you to mint, to snipe, and to auto trade. Auto trading will come through the upgrade. But basically, Sears and Degen Pharaohs will morph into that. The Sears will get burnt out of existence. They will get upgraded. Degen Pharaohs will be disassociated from us. The art will still exist. But if you're a holder today of a Degen Pharaoh, you're just getting airdropped directly an upgraded Seer once that mint happens. Outside of this, I mean, Sears altogether, they get the portfolio tracker, LF Grow, that's also shared with Pharaohs. They also get an auto trader similar to Paratools, which we're building out, and they get access to like a 1 session advisory session for any founders. And personally, my advisory sessions, they're $300 to $500 an hour, which is a free utility that we're offering to at least a Seer holder of 10 Seers. So it's sort of morphing into a collection of builders and people who really want to get equipped into the space. And advisory isn't dependent on just like personal projects. You could be doing it for like personal growth or trying to find your place in the space. There's a couple of real life coaches in Veros, so we just offer it as a cool utility for bigger holders.
So I just have a
Yeah.
question to add into that. So you're mentioning, yeah, raid to earn. So this is actually unique as it's already incorporated in the platform. But my question is, where is the liquidity coming from for this?
Oh, it's self funded. So
Okay.
if for example you token mines, you want a Pharaoh community to raid, you just need to go to the platform, drop your tweet in, and then pay 1.5 to whatever soul. And then upon our approval, upon the project owner's approval, it'll get raided right away and eaten up by pharaohs. Which is interestingly enough why white labeling the Tomb Raid platform will be so interesting because you'll have the ability to focus which communities you want to be engaging on certain tweets. So if I wanted like a BAYC specific raid, then I make a white label platform for the BAYC guys, where you'll see all the BAYC holders trying to raid for it.
Oh, I see. That's really interesting in terms of the marketing as well.
And instant
For
virality. I mean,
yeah.
coming and trying to make a rallying cry and a rallying call for any project is very difficult. This sort of automates that process.
And then with more adoption to this platform, I think this is really good also for Web3 space in general. Yeah, that's really nice and interesting. Uh, Aside from that, I'm also having another question for you. So, for those of us who do not know, so can you tell us what it means, to be privately doxed by Cursed Labs? We see
Oh,
here you have a certificate. So, what does this actually mean for any project having this one?
so doxing in the space, although this doesn't matter anymore because we dox such a long time. But doxing in the space is really giving up our identities to certain actors, certain individuals in the space. I think me and Tim have grown influence after that doxing to be a little bit more bigger than needing to dox. I mean, both of our faces are often just on video. Like we're in multiple video calls all the time. Our announcements in Pharaohs and the NFTM weekly roundup is literally NFTM doing a video recording of himself, giving updates of the project. I've got
Oh, okay.
shared already, and that's what doxing is.
Okay, okay. So, for example, if I'm a new project founder, and I'd like to do this as well. So, can you give us a picture or like, the steps into getting into this and
Sure.
how do we
So
actually
how
do it?
doxing often works, and I know this because I work with Elder Mages in Magic Eden and Soul Council often. But essentially, it's you giving and providing your identity to a neutral body. In this case, I think the more popular one is with the launch pads like Magic Eden or Elder Mages. You give your identity up to them, your LinkedIn, your resume, your bio, maybe information about your credit history or anything, but basically confirming that your identity is secured with one person. It's allowing that safe trust that you are not a bad actor in the space, that you are willing to forego your identity and share it to the rest of the world because you are in with good intent of what you're doing.
Yeah, so it's more of a tool that would make you be like a trusted someone inside the space, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
So now that we've like discussed a lot of the utility and giving back to your community members and also getting doxed. So all of this stuff like that you mentioned and your experience, what made you say that it was viable, or like it'll work, or it's a great strategy, especially since with your background as a project manager, as an advisor? So what made you say all this was viable to do?
Honestly, then, it was more reacting to the market because the fact of the matter is, in NFTs and in any NFT project, you're always looking at instability. You're always trying to constantly react. Having the mindset of being able to just move forward and try to make the best course of action at any given point in time, and that flexibility, that's at least what keeps you in a floating situation. Most projects will launch with less planning, less resources financially, and even influence inside the space. So it's more a survivability method of just constantly evolving up and updating your plan and constantly working on it and refining it day in and day out. You can't say at any point in time that you're gonna make it, you're gonna execute, because you don't know. Your mint could be all bullish and like have every influencer shilling it pre-mint, and then on mint day you experience getting a DDoS attack. That happens. But will it stop you from building your project? It shouldn't. If you're really here to build something, a failure here is not going to stop you from actually building your dream.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so, looking at the whole of the market, right? So, other than that, how do you think NFTs are going to move forward? And do you have any specific strategies that would be effective in the upcoming times?
Okay, so people hate me because I think this is the third space where I was sharing my sentiment on the market. But we're entering a phase in the market where, similar to how ETH is today, where there's really a dry up of NFTs and projects. There are too much projects. That's the fact of the matter. And to launch a project today, you have to be a quadruple A project. Like, you have to have everything set up. You have to have all the influence. You have to have done something great, something big, all planned out elaborately and prepared for whatever risks. That's what I'm telling every founder that asks me for advice. Because you're competing against projects that are so good, that have been building for the last 8 months to the bear, and you just coming up and standing out and saying to everyone that I'm launching a project 2 weeks from now. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I have cool art. It's not gonna hold water anymore. The space has shaken out, at least in Solana and ETH. The space has shaken out most of the dumb investors, I'd like to say. I mean, we're still dumb, but at least when it comes to NFTs, we do a little bit more research, I think, today, and we know what to look for in quality. Degen mints will always have their place, but if you notice, this meta in Solana, for example, you're not seeing a lot of Degen mints for a reason. It's because the space is maturing. It's really at an overbought stage in terms of NFTs.
Yeah, I agree with that. So actually, with regards to marketing any projects, the hype is no longer enough. That's what I'm seeing as well. So really needed to bring value, send something unique to the space, right?
Yeah, man, and not just value, but literally you're looking at value on multiple spectrums. You're looking at the value of the project, you're looking at the value of the art, you're looking at the value of the community that's built through build value. So how do you strike a perfect grade on each of them if you really want to launch like a 5 soul floor? I think even just a 5 soul floor is such a challenge already.
Yeah. So with regards to the challenges, right? So you're mentioning, yeah, challenges. Okay. So going to this strategy, so have you encountered, hurdles in your journey with Alpha Pharaoh? So example, you have this strategy and then you have this obstacle. So how did you actually overcome this obstacle? So maybe can you share some insights with our listeners, especially those, because I believe there are some who are really struggling, and to those who would just like to know more. Yeah.
So I don't think everyone knows this, but when we launched Alpha Pharoahs, like we were launching a 0.169 mint, where 60% of the treasury or the mint proceeds were really going to the overhead that we said we'd be paying the advisory partner, then the consulting partner that the original founders decided to work with, Curse Labs. So a majority of it, of all the funds, were already given to like the launch party, and me and Tim were struggling to work with any budget at all. Um, Launching a project and trying to get it to stand for the last 6 months is difficult when you don't have capital to do anything really. Right? I mean, we raised like what, 300 sol just for the project. That's not even enough to like in during those days to launch a staking platform. Staking platforms then were like what, 550. So we had nothing really to work with. Just the measly 300. But what me and Tim decided was to like find ways to constantly give value. So we started off at like being what we're good at, an alpha server, a hunter hole where you can get some of the best whitelist spots, play some of the best trades, and that was the next 3 months for Pharoahs. Like we stayed below 2 sol for a long time because everyone was thinking like we were just a goated alpha server with some of the best whitelist spots out there. That was us for a long time. Until so that when we had enough funds, we tried building a first iteration of the Tomb Raid platform, which even then actually was sort of shortchanged because we had to redo our first iteration of the Tomb Raid platform. The important part is that never stopped us from constantly building after those struggles. Like we just we just power through. Power through in the sense that, for example, post mint, we were already discussing what we could do with such a measly budget. So we were already looking at like doing a free airdrop or ideating on roadmap items that are so far ahead, but we can give value already to our holders. We can give them like if they mint or if they claim, we make a little bit of cash plus we get them at least some NFTs that they could sell, which is directly thinking of how we can provide value to our holders. Outside of that, we were working on trades. We were teaching them what to trade. To be very specific, we'd be teaching them how to analyze, how to become callers eventually, hunting whitelist spots. And me and Tim, we both decided to stop calling and hunting for the other servers that we got known for, which upped the exclusivity of the Pharaohs. Because now we were just focused on building and building what the Pharaohs did.
So,
So
for
it was,
example, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just about to say. So it was just more like taking anything from the project at the start.
Can you repeat on that, Snooze? Because I think your line is breaking.
Yeah, I was just saying it was just mostly us constantly giving back to the project and just making what we do exclusive to what we do.
All right. So yeah, you were mentioning, okay, you did some airdrop, free airdrop, etc. So majority of some of the NFT projects are doing this as well, even token projects, right? During their initial launch. So from your observations, which previous strategies used by Web3 projects no longer work? Then what are the new strategies that you observe to be working?
A lot of them actually will not work anymore. So that's what's interesting in this space. When it's done one time, it becomes the meta and it doesn't work anymore. We survived for Pharaohs because we understood the meta then was degen mints, which allowed us to mint out. We understood that People will buy in on a special airdrop when we're giving it for free to our holders. That'll at least bring in more eyes to look at the project. So we gave 3 airdrops. We also thought of like launching a second collection, but we wanted to add more value and constantly through the process partnering with people who we saw with us in the trenches trying to build their own thing as well. So we constantly kept making friends with other projects that are doing their own thing, their own lanes. For example, Bad Cat. Like we partner with them, trying to find fruitions between projects, and using that as like launching pad to help us also build the project. Because at the behind all these collabs, behind all these affiliate links of utility or these art collabs that often pop up are also projects that are creating friendships between each other. And I think that's also how we silently built a lot of trust in the space because we really networked and got to know who to work with. So when it came time to actually build something, we already knew who to approach. We already knew what would be needed. We already knew how much it would cost because we've networked at this rate super deeply with a lot of the people who we consider peers. I think that's also what attracted me in Solana the most, not to bash our ETH brothers, but the builder community is very strong. DAOs in Solana are very strong. There are DAOs of founders, there are DAOs of devs, there are DAOs of artists. And just networking properly and trying to be part of the ecosystem, you actually find the right ways to support your project. Strategies, honestly, if I could tell you every new strategy to how to like build a bullish project today, then that meta would already be burned by the time you'd be executing. Like the moment that someone can coin a meta, it's already burned for everyone else. I mean, everyone just saw like the rev share competitive gaming meta with dual bots and every other project launching something similar. You also saw pre-sale meta where people are launching pre-sales at the 50% rate, trying to sell out. You also saw like shillfluencer meta where every influencer was just pumping and just tweeting about something that they got for free. Those are all valid strategies. By the time that your project gets to actually come to market, those strategies would be too old. You need to rethink what you're doing. You need to find your niche, like focus on your plans, your values, what you need to get your project launched. I mean, there are a lot of KPIs. Depends on how what your product is and how you're working with it. But the old gimmicks, they won't work. They're gimmicks for a reason. You'll need to ideate on something new, something different, something that'll something that's creative. I mean, if you can build, if you have devs, always something interesting.
Yeah, I hear you. Especially like in the space strategizing, it's also exciting that it's also just the start. So we'll see a lot more of those strategies. And so far, we've heard a lot of exciting stuff for you here at Alpha Pharaohs. And so, for our next question, what's next for Alpha Pharaohs? Can you talk to us more about the exciting future and your plans for 2023, and especially to ensure the project's longevity?
So I think Pharaohs we're all set actually to execute. So we're at an executionary stage for the main Pharaohs, wherein the Tomb Raid platform is just constantly getting in more and more volume. People don't understand this often with how bullish it is every time there is a white label platform that we launch. But when we go back into how revenue share works with how each raid is funded, the more communities using Tomb Raid, the bigger the landlord's pharaohs will be. Because each raid we've given for free also still fund pharaohs. And there'll come a time where we'll be the community that isn't raiding while everyone else is raiding. That's really the nature of how we've ideated on the design thought of making an expansive community. It's essentially free marketing for us while constantly giving value to each pharaoh at a value perspective. So, for example, if today we're making 150 soul and each pharaoh gets what in revenue share per week, let's say roughly point 0.7, point 0.8. What happens when we have another community just as big as Pharaohs raiding on their own, generating the same volume, or a 10K collection just doing the same? Suddenly it becomes interesting because everyone wants to raid, everyone wants to try to make their passive, and if everyone else is doing their own raiding, sooner or later, Pharaohs become parabolic. This plus the whole use of ads, which is going to come on all the white label platforms, plus the use of introducing Web 2 into what we do for the white label platforms. So sooner or later, you will see people posting Fiverr ads to do a raid. Example, lining up for movie tickets and tweeting about it, and then engaging and commenting just to confirm, and you still technically get a revenue share from doing that. Those are all in what's planned for the year. I'm really bullish on that. At least the whole engage to earn in Web 2 kind of utility that's being built. That's for Pharaohs. For Sears, they're getting the really cool art upgrade. I'll pin something up so everyone can see, but they're actually a collab collection done by an esteemed AI artist. They're sort of a husband and wife couple that work on the art. Neuromind. So these are some of the art upgrades that you get from being a seer. This comes along with the Auto Trader bot from Cyberfrogs. The Auto Trader bot allows you to essentially just drop in whatever currency you want, and then just playing on with the bot, doing signals trades, and it allows you to just short, long, or scalp whatever cryptocurrency you want, and making the revenue from just the Auto Trader. Quite cool because I know a lot of other platforms do it in crypto. Interesting because the Cyberfrogs one that we co-share is really quite good. What else? What else? There is something cool that's happening with jewels, which I am under duress to not mention at all. But the jewels will finally be able to do something. I think that's been like the when whitelist gib now mantra for our holders for a couple months now. Like when Jewel's utility, when Cleopatra headdress utility, when Serpent of Nile utility. They actually will get it sooner or later. I just can't mention yet for what. But check on the YouTube update that Tim's been dropping. He might be giving hints there. I think the next series he should be sharing a little bit more info about it. But it's cool because they might be the gates to like a whole set of new chains for Pharaohs. And we've been experimenting with a lot of other communities beyond Solana with bringing raids. So quite interesting.
And I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to it, and I love how you've made an ecosystem for your community, especially for the marketing part. So for our listeners, please head on over and check that out for them. And so last but not least, for new NFT projects launching this 2023, what suggestions do you have for them to be successful? What are key things to remember when starting a new project in the space?
One would be to not rush. Like ideate and work on your project in terms of what brand you want to build and what value you really want to put into the space. Just because I think everyone else would agree that it's sort of easy nowadays to figure out which projects don't really plan to do anything. Um, Take your time to build the project. Don't be greedy about the capital raise that each project gives. Art projects, they exist for a reason because they're good art. If you're going to launch an art project, make sure it is good art. Work on something that is of value to you and to the community. Um, and try not to cut corners. Although a lot of projects often do.